I love cardistry. I love sports. What's your take on dealing with creative block? Uh, this is a loaded question. Because in that creative block is like, well, this is like sort of the core of my process, really. Actually, I remember back in the day of like my portrait and my Instagram, like more like prolific Instagram days. My process was very reactive. It was very heavily based. It was very strategic,
Yeah.
and I would say that I was a very creative dude. But I don't think I became an artist until like several months after Selfish. Like I don't think that I was doing artistic, like actually doing artistic things. I think that I was more so becoming very strategically effective at doing things to make people react a certain way, and that can like feel like doing art, but it's not.
Mm.
And then when you encounter a creative block in that situation, it would be like, well, okay, like, am I not? Am I just not picking somebody to go after? Like, you know what I mean? Like that. Like it would be confusing because you're like, well, what even is a creative block? Because I never felt like I was inventing anything. I always felt like
Mm.
I was taking all of it to begin with. So like a creative block, there was no way to explain it away through my old process because of the fact that my process was so external and reactive, and it was just like, well, how can I be blocked? Like, what's the problem? I'm not even really thinking of anything. So I had to, and then coming out of Selfish, I was in like such a crazily bad mentality that I
Mm.
was like, okay, I really need to reevaluate and like reconsider my whole process from the ground up and do this differently. And the thing that I came back with after like maybe a year of thinking about that was a way more holistic approach to cardistry. And holistic, for people that don't know, holistic means a approach that like is based in pieces. Basically, it's like a thing that is you can only have the bigger picture idea if you keep all these
Mm.
pieces in balance together. So I don't think about creative block or making great material really as targets per se, because I think that making great material and not being creatively blocked are both just byproducts of having the correct process, the correct holistic process. And I know that doesn't answer the question yet, but my point is that creative block is not something that I attack directly. Like I don't go after creative block. I prevent creative block entirely. So that's why I said all that to begin. Is that creative block is a confusing thing, like period, and approaching it as if it's like a wall, and it's like how do I knock down this wall is not the right way of looking at it. It's there. This is a naturally flowing system. Like art
Yeah.
is a natural thing, and a creative block is an inhibition to an otherwise natural thing. So really, the question is, what is creating the blockage to begin with? Like, why am I allowing these blockages to enter in? Why do some people get blocked more than others? And
Mm.
like, and then why do some people stay in those blocks? And I think that's definitely the focus of the process right now. And I'd say that the five things that I focus on above all, like the five aspects of being effective for me, um, are my literacy. So your level of literacy is your awareness of all techniques and things that have happened. That's your literacy. So just all the cardistry that you've ever seen and like all the techniques you're aware of. Then there's your proficiency, which is your physical ability. So your ability to do the techniques that you've seen. Then there's my engineering, and my engineering is the process that I use to solve my problems. It's the problem solving and the cost management side of things, where I say, okay, do I need to make this move easier? How can I support the idea? That's engineering. What can I
Yeah.
do to create a thing that houses my idea? Then there's my artistry, which is my strategy as an artist. Like you line that up, like your identity as an artist, get that sorted out. And then the fifth and final is my own social, emotional well-being on its own. So are you healthy? Like, are you exercising? Are you eating well? Are you like, do you have friends in your
Mm.
in your real life? Are you like needy right now? And all of those five things together, if you're creatively blocked, more often than not, it is one of those five things is out of whack. You might not be literate enough. you might just not be aware of enough cardistry and you need to broaden your horizons. Maybe you're not good enough at performing and your skill ceiling is too low and you're like, okay, I need to elevate my physical ability. Maybe that's the problem. I'm going to address that through more deliberate practice time. You know, maybe you're thinking about your artistry itself and you're like, I don't think that I have a interesting enough intent, you know, and maybe you need to think about like, what am I trying to achieve here? You know, and like sometimes it's not actually a cardistry problem. Like sometimes you're a good cardist, but you just don't have an interesting goal. Like you're not here for a reason. You don't really have anything to say, you know? And I think that focusing on that can break it up. But anyway, that's my point is that getting rid of creative block is about addressing your life in a balanced way, so that you can put yourself into a position where you're unafraid of sharing. Because sharing really is the problem. The problem is not an inability to make something. The problem is an inability to make something that you are fulfilled by. That's the issue. The issue is that you're like, oh, I'm not making things that feel right. They don't feel like what I want. You know, but people make it sound like they just can't make an idea when they're creatively blocked. And I'm like, that's bullshit. Of course you can make something. That's not what they're saying. They're saying that they just can't make something good, you know? So that's how I approach creative block. I approach creative block by treating it like it's a machine. You know, the body, the mind, the spirit is a machine with parts just like anything else. And you just have to be really reasonable and realistic about what those pieces are. And if the changes you're making aren't addressing the problem, then you need to take a step back and think like, maybe I'm addressing it in the wrong place, you know? But just throwing yourself at the wall saying that I'm creatively blocked. Oh, you know, like, what can I, you know, what can I, is there a grip you could tell me to jostle my head, you know, to like, just make me, you know, forget that I'm creatively blocked, you know?
Yeah, I love that. Such a good way of looking at it, I feel like. I feel like I learned quite a lot from that as well. I think that's really interesting to hear.